Ms. Young, are you certain that you want to proceed with the termination? Nikita Young, clutching the medical report tightly in her hands, nodded in determination. Yes, doctor, I've made up my mind. The doctor sighed wistfully but did not attempt to change her mind. Very well then. The best time frame for a pregnancy termination would be between 35 and 55 days after conception. Out of concern for your current health, I've scheduled your procedure to be carried out in 10 days. Thank you, doctor. Nikita found a spot on the bench in the waiting room. With one hand lightly stroking her still flat tummy, she booked a flight ticket back to her hometown in 10 days. At that very moment, the little television screen in the waiting room was broadcasting a live stream of Nextronic's product launch. Nextronics was a company that rose steadily to fame over the past few years, not only because it boasted an impressive array of state-of-the-art digital devices, but also because of its handsome, intelligent, and incredibly wealthy CEO, the very same man who Nikki was so lucky to marry. Spencer Ford was the epitome of the perfect man. He was loving and devoted to his wife, much to the envy of women everywhere. The very first digital voice assistant that Nextronics launched was Nikki, whose name was soon revealed to be coined after Nikita, Nextronics' newest product, whose launch was being televised on screen at that moment, was a smartphone named Niko Ultra. There were no doubts where the inspiration for that name came from either. Anyone who did not live under a rock knew that Spencer was crazy about Nikita, which proved to be a great selling point. Especially in the female consumers market, the reporters were interviewing civilians outside the product launch conference. One woman said to the camera, "To be very honest, I have no idea what this new smartphone does, but I'm hoping that if my husband buys it, he'll learn to be as loving of a husband as Mr. Ford is." The reporter then gave this message to Spencer, whose handsome face was beaming at the camera. "Mr. Ford, everyone knows you're smitten with your wife. I must ask, if Mrs. Ford is with a child in the future, will the little rascal take any of your affection away from your wife?" Spencer considered this for a few moments, then grinned and replied, "I very much look forward to that day, but I leave the decision to my wife. To answer your question, it's still preferred to be known as the man who is obsessed with his wife rather than his child." A chorus of laughter broke out at this. All of a sudden, Nikita's phone buzzed. It was a message from her best friend, Mia Samson. A long chain of text messages soon followed, and it was clear Mia was following along the broadcast from wherever she was. "Hey, tell Spencer to stop. It's getting annoying. Come on, you need to give that man a child. He came by this morning to visit, and I swear at the rate he's stroking my little Taylor's head, she'll be bald before I know it. To be honest, Nikita, I'm quite envious of you. You're so lucky to have a husband like Spencer." Nikita had to stifle a snicker at this. Mia was right. Though she was indeed a very fortunate woman, she grew up in a loving home, raised by parents who were still as in love with each other as the day they married, even decades later. Unfortunately, this set her up for impossibly high standards when it came to her love life, precisely because she witnessed her parents' perfect marriage. Nikita was always incredibly picky about men. She refused to settle and thus never dated even until the ripe age of 26. That was until she met Spencer. When they met, it seemed apparent that they were made for each other, dedicated and loving. Spencer had been the perfect husband a woman could ever dream of. He respected her every decision and placed her above anything else in his life. He even had a notebook that he carried everywhere, which was dedicated to jotting down all of Nikita's whims and fancies. A glimpse into this notebook revealed that Nikita did not like fish. She despised onions, ginger, and garlic. She loved cherries, and she was often in a bad mood.